Dutch national anthem, the vuvuzelas, the applause, and the PA announcement as the Danish players link arms for their national anthem. Great to see a man proud of where he comes from. Jan Molby singing the Danish national anthem, but quite right too. So there we are then. It's the start of another terrific day of World Cup football here on 5 Live Sport. We've got Cameroon against Japan to come. It'll be fascinating to see exactly what this Cameroon side with plenty of European experience do. And later on, the world champions, our first sight this World Cup of Italy. But now it's Holland. And it's Denmark, and you've heard from Jan Molby and Darren Fletcher. And here to start the commentary as the teams break into their own halves, Alistair Bruceball.
Thank you, Mark. Not a bad way to spend a Monday lunchtime if you're joining us at home, sneakily listening to us in the office or possibly driving along the road. Lovely to have World Cup football, the first of 3 more commentaries on 5 Live this afternoon. And we are very much looking forward to seeing this Dutch team. And, of course, this Danish team with Jan Molby sitting alongside me. And I've got to say, Jan, that Mark didn't quite notice, but during our little pre-match build-up there on the big screen away to our left-hand side, bit of Denmark in 1986 and one Jan Molby playing a part in it.
Yeah, absolutely. A bit of history, wasn't it? That was our first World Cup ever. It was the first time we ever qualified. We just had a great time, and this is only the 4th time Denmark had ever qualified. But we're here again in our numbers. Just looking forward to it.
Well, Denmark are in the right-hand half of the field as we look down from miles up in the sky here at Soccer City, an orange stadium from the very off in terms of the orange plastic seats, and obviously even oranger. Please don't text in, I know that isn't a word, but it is just very, very orange in here this afternoon. But looking directly across the stadium as well as the high camera that is suspended like an acrobat on the 4 ropes that goes flying above the pitch and follows the players' actions. Looking across through there, huge splodges of red of Danish fans opposite us, hoping their team can once again get out of the group stages in a World Cup as they have done on 3 previous occasions. Let's give you the team lineups before we get underway. No Arjen Robben for Holland. They have Martin Stekelenburg in goal. A back 4 of Gregory van der Wiel, Johnny Heitinga, Joris Matthijssen and Giovanni van Bronckhorst, winning his 100th cap. What a place to do that. Mark van Bommel and Nigel de Jong protecting that back 4. Dirk Kuyt wide right. Rafael van der Vaart in place of Arjen Robben on the left. Wesley Sneijder, who's had such a sensational season for Inter Milan, playing in behind Robin van Persie, who of course had really bad injury problems last season but has come back with a bang for Holland, scoring 4 goals in their 3 warm-up games. Thomas Sorensen is fit for Denmark. He is in goal. Big news for them is that Niklas Bentner does play, despite the coach Morten Olsen ensuring a few days or so ago that he wouldn't be risked in this game. Denmark have possession in their white shirts and red shorts. Their back 4, Lars Jakobsen of Blackburn, Simon Kjær of Palermo, who we're really looking forward to seeing, playing alongside Liverpool's Daniel Agger. Simon Poulsen at left back. There's a weak pass from Agger back to Sorensen. He's out quickly and belts it away with his right foot. The ball goes out for a throw-in. Christian Poulsen, Martin Jorgensen in front of them, Thomas Enevoldsen wide left, Rommedahl wide right, and Niklas Bentner, as I mentioned, up front. You can't fail to spot the Dutch. They are in bright orange, they have black trim, they have black shorts, and they have their first possession of this World Cup, and as you'd expect, they are calmly stroking it around in the sunshine here at Soccer City. Johnny Heitinga, who passes the ball sideways. A long ball forward is aimed out towards Kuyt on the right wing. Poulsen jumps high, wins the header. and knocks it out for a throw-in to Holland. So about 30 yards away from the Denmark goal. It's Gregory van der Veel, the Ajax right back, who's got a little bit of a bad boy reputation, but likes to come forward down that right-hand side. Now the ball is back in the Holland defence, continuing to play inside their own half, and here is Van Bronckhorst, who just calmly strokes one down the left-hand touchline for Van Persie to chase, dribbles out of play for a throw-in. Here's Jan Mulvey.
Yeah, Denmark's kick-off, and straight away, and I think the coach has said this to the players, you need to be brave. When we have the ball, you need to play it around, stroke it around at the back. And he did, and almost got caught. A lazy back pass from Daniel Agger to Sorensen, but he just made it clear that since then, it's been the Dutch. But I think the two teams are just getting the feel of it.
Throw up the touchline is intercepted by the Dutch. Here is Mark van Bommel. As Darren and Mark were saying, has to play, of course, in the starting lineup because he is the coach's son-in-law. Wesley Schneider, a rare loose pass from him, has given the ball away. Here's Bentner with a little layoff into the tricky, quick feet still of Rommedahl. Passes wide right to Jakobsen, who finds Bentner. Good bit of early possession for Denmark. Bentner surrounded by 4 orange shirts suddenly. He was clipped, I think, as he was running away from the defender, and Denmark win a free kick. 2 minutes played. Holland 0, Denmark 0. Jan, I guess slight concern for Denmark is injury problems ahead of the World Cup in terms of Sorensen, in terms of Kier at centre-back, and in terms of Bentner as well. Let's just see what Denmark can do here. Agger quite likes to hit them from here. Good strike. Heitinger blocks it with his backside. Not to put too fine a point on it. Good job for the Dutch there. The ball is just inside the Holland half. Holland win a free kick. They want to go quickly. They're not going to be allowed to. Yes, injury problems for the Danes.
Yeah, that has been. I mean, that's. The build-up to the World Cup has been all about injuries. People felt that Sorensen would definitely be fit, but the other two have been a doubt right up to the last minute. But also loss of form for some of the key players who are on the bench today.
Robin van Persie is going to have his first touch of the afternoon at Soccer City. Bright sunshine in Johannesburg, not too far from Soweto. Van Persie has won the throw-in. Holland 0, Denmark 0. The next game in Group E kicks off at 3 o'clock this afternoon. Full commentary from Japan, Cameroon, from Bloemfontein. The world champions Italy in action this evening, 7:30 Italy against Paraguay in Cape Town. Kout with the flick on, no one behind him. The ball's on the edge of the Danish box, and it's just smashed away high in the air by Enevoldsen. Matthijsen jumps higher than Bentner to win the header. Van Bronckhorst just ducks in to win a header himself. But Denmark have the ball back right-hand side, and the ball is slipped up the right-hand touchline, and that's a decent ball as well. And now Bentner's trying to make tracks into the middle here. The cross in is blocked initially by Matthijsen, but Denmark still have it with Rommedahl. Just going to try and slide a little pass into the penalty area. Rommedahl fouls there as Holland came away with the ball. A free kick for Holland, remains 0-0.
Yeah, I think the build-up was overshadowed when it got by the Dutch, because everybody's looking forward to them. They have a real chance of winning this World Cup, but we shouldn't forget Denmark with all the experience, and as much as the Dutch are great on the ball, so are the Danes. The problem we have is in the final third. Yeah, don't create as many chances as Denmark possibly should, and just lack that international goal scorer.
Here are Holland with possession inside the centre circle. Manchester City's Nigel de Jong with a little cushioned pass with the right instep across the halfway line to Van der Veel. Just leaves Van Bommel with a little work to do. Pass was a little short, and he was under pressure there from Jorgensen, the Danish captain. 499 caps, international caps between them, this Danish lineup, which does tell you something about their experience. Rafael van der Vaart is brought down as he charges forward, so Holland win the free kick. Van der Vaart in that role on the left-hand side, hasn't been a regular starter for Real Madrid this season, but not a bad player to call on, with plenty of international experience himself. Free kick is a long way out. May just fancy a dip at this, Jan, with the World Cup ball.
Wesley Sneijder will fancy from this distance, that's for sure. But just coming back to Van der Vaart, he's a different wide man type to Robin. He doesn't give you that drive as Robin does, but he's a great footballer.
Well, it is Sneijder who stands over the free kick for Holland. Didn't score at the last World Cup in 2006. Hands are on hips. It's pretty much slap bang in line with the middle of the goal. Thomas Sorensen all in green, and his white boot stands waiting. Schneider's going to drive one, get underneath it. Goes way over the crossbar and behind for a goal kick, and it's still goalless.
Yeah, it's been a problem, free kicks. You know, any free kicks in and around the penalty box where you expect players to do well, especially players of this quality, it has been a problem. The players who try and go up and over the wall haven't managed to get the ball back down, and the players who go for power from distance, the ball just keeps rising.
Got a second ball on the pitch. The ball boys obviously struggling with the Jabulani ball as well. Just overhit that one.
One each, that will do, won't it? Ball each.
Ball for Holland, ball for Denmark. Back to one ball on the field of play, and it's Christian Poulsen, the holding midfielder, who likes to get in amongst it. Who sits in front of the back four. Nice bit of skill from Rommedahl. Little back heel to himself. He's fouled. Advantage is played by our French referee, who I haven't mentioned yet by name, was Stefan Lannoy. Denmark continue with another free kick midway inside the Holland half in their white shirts, red shorts, white socks, and I guess Morten Olsen will be fairly happy with the way things are started.
Absolutely.
Here, Jan Mulvey.
What Denmark are doing when they're knocking the ball around, they're trying to get Daniel Agger to come in and become the extra man in midfield already. And we've already seen it 3 times where he's got into Holland's half.
So it's Ina Voltsen, who is one of 3 players in this Denmark side who play their club football in Holland, as Mark mentioned. Dennis Rommedahl from Ajax saying hello to everyone in the tunnel. Simon Poulsen also plays for Alkmaar, but at the moment it's Ina Voltsen, who's got this free kick midway inside the Dutch half. The Dutch goal away to our left is shrouded in shade, driven in from a long way out, a good 5 or 6 yards wide. No problems for Stekelenburg there, but as you'd expect, Jan, early on, why not just have a bash from distance?
Yeah, and I think that's going to be Denmark's best chance. The problem that Denmark have had creating chances, and I think Olsen have gone for the line-up where people can actually shoot from distance. We saw the free kick from Ina Voltsen, but Kallenberg, Jurgens can also shoot from distance.
And what about the risk on playing Niklas Bentner today, Jan? Because that is a surprise for us, and were he to get injured in this game, I mean, you would suggest that Japan and Cameroon are actually bigger games for Denmark than this game.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the reason that he's playing is that Jon Dahl Thomasen got a slight knock in training yesterday. He was very, very doubtful. He hasn't made it. And I also think that the coach looked at the backup, Larsen and Beckman, simply not being up to this level.
Okay. Holland 0, Denmark 0 on BBC Radio 5 Live. Heading towards 1 o'clock your time in the UK. Bright sunshine here in Johannesburg. The constant drone of the vuvuzelas in the background, like a big swarm of bees around us. That will continue throughout the World Cup, and a good thing too, as Van der Wiel, who loves driving, runs forward, and this is one of them, coming towards the Denmark box. Is he brought down fairly? Defender won the ball. Holland have it back though, here on the edge of the penalty area. De Jong, quick pass to Count, little flick round the corner from him. Van der Wiel still forwards, going to try and get on the end of that. Agger steps in, knocks the ball away for Denmark. Just a little sniff of what Holland can do.
Yeah, he's capable, isn't he? He's a very, very quick Van der Wiel, but good defending by Poulsen. Slide tackle, had to get it absolutely spot on, and did.
That was the slightly less clever side of what Holland can do there. Van der Wiel threw the ball into Dirk Kuyt. Van der Wiel moved away, and Kuyt cushioned the pass straight back to him. He wasn't there, and the ball went straight out of play for a throw-in. The second game this, Denmark have done exactly the same, but it's in a much more dangerous position for them now, because that's 10 yards short of the corner flag as Holland attack down the right-hand side, and they've knocked the ball straight out of play. Could be a problem as Van der Wiel gets ready to take. Schneider wanted a quick one, made the run, it was covered, so that opportunity is gone. Van der Wiel's just about level with the penalty spot, has the white ball behind his head, throws into Kuyt. He's got Simon Poulsen shadowing him behind him. His cross is blocked by the shins of Poulsen and goes out for another throw to Holland. Holland 0, Denmark 0, first game in Group E. Thrown in by Van der Wiel, again to Kuyt. Kuyt this time finds his man, gets the ball back, and plays a rather risky pass back to Nigel de Jong, who struggled to keep possession, couldn't do so. Denmark have given it away again. Just a few too many cooks spoiling the broth. But look, here's Kuyt now, just outside there, a driven shot, straight at Sorensen, spilled it, but luckily for him, just spilled it sideways and managed to pick up the loose ball.
Yeah, it was their first moment, Holland. Good little play, get plenty of players around the ball, clever little passes, and a good shooting opportunity. Probably hasn't hit it as well as he would have liked. The goalkeeper will be pleased that didn't end up in the back of the net.
Simon Kier, the man who loves defending, almost hit a David Beckham style 60-yard pass there out to the left wing towards Ina Voltsen, who couldn't quite catch it. I noticed yesterday I did the Algeria-Slovenia game in Polokwane, where the ball was really bouncing as well as flying through the air, really bouncing high off a hard pitch there, half synthetic pitch yesterday, and the players really struggled with it. Probably slightly better technique amongst these two teams as Holland have the ball again inside their own half, and Van der Wiel will come all the way back to his goalkeeper Stekelenburg. As we're saying, Jan, the build-up has been a lot about the Dutch.
Yeah, of course, and rightly so. But I think, as we sit here and look at it, the Dutch wants to play forward. They want to pass the ball forward as quick as they can, crisp on the deck, but Denmark are stopping them doing that. Denmark are doing very well defensively. They're forcing the Dutch to go back, to go square, and they're not really causing any problems as of yet.
Well, we shouldn't forget Denmark were extremely impressive in qualifying, because they finished ahead of Portugal and Sweden in their group. Sweden not here, Portugal had to come through the playoff, and kept 7 clean sheets in 10 games as well. So difficult to break down. As Jan was saying, the difficulty may be scoring goals, but their record in the group stages of the World Cup is extremely good. Holland 0, Denmark 0. The game yet to really catch fire. The atmosphere yet to get really absolutely buzzing. And as Darren was saying in the build-up to the game, a fair few empty seats around Soccer City as well, as Agger floats a pass down the inside left channel. Look at that ball bounce hard as well off the turf. He was never going to catch it anyway, Poulsen, and the ball drifts behind for a goal kick.
That's the one ball you can't play, isn't it? That long straight ball. It just bounces off the service and goes out of play.
How much do you know, Jan, how much the Danish players have been practicing with the ball?
Well,
the World Cup ball?
They've had it for ever since they met up. The ball was available, I believe, to be played with in the Danish league, and there was only one Danish team who took up that option, but they don't have any of the players in the World Cup squad. So
Holland 0, Denmark 0. Jan Molby, former Danish international, of course, with us playing at World Cup 86 in that fantastic side that destroyed Uruguay in the group stages by 6-1 and then went out to Spain, having got through that group. I do remember being a little boy watching that World Cup and dashing out into the back garden with my little brother and pretending to be Jan Molby and Preben Elkjær and Jesper Olsen and Michael Laudrup. It was a fantastic team he played with.
Denmark's finest player ever, Michael Laudrup, here somewhere. Good to see him before.
Well, hasn't been the best game so far, has it? Yeah, considering we're already halfway back to 86.
It's been played exactly like Denmark wants it to be played. There's been no opportunity for Wesley Sneijder to get into the game. Christian Poulsen is just in and around him all the time, and he's played perfectly for Denmark so far.
Stekelenburg, the Dutch keeper, the successor to Edwin van der Sar, following Euro 2008, all in blue, clears downfield. The Vuvuzelas just rise in volume as the ball is absolutely crashed into the feet of Kallenberg. It knocked him off his feet, he couldn't control it, and Van der Wiel, Holland's right back, picks up and just scoops a little ball with his left foot to Nigel de Jong on the right hand side. Now Schneider's come deep to pick up the ball for Holland. Van Bronckhorst winning his 100th cap this afternoon, breaking forward down the left. Van der Vaart has kind of dropped into the left back position. Holland quite happy to keep the ball. Van Bommel's all the way back there. He's just going to knock it back to his keeper Stekelenburg, and Denmark will hold Holland at bay. 13 minutes played on BBC Radio 5 Live, and as we say, this game yet to really spark into life. Schneider on the turn inside the Denmark half. Now this could be it. Van Persie up towards the edge of the box, needs two defenders to get the ball off him. It's played back to Sorensen, and he clears up towards the halfway line.
Yeah, well drilled, that back four of Denmark. Two fullbacks are really close to the centre half, just closed in, nowhere for Van Persie to go.
And Christian Poulsen as well, sitting in front of that back four. I'm doing a bit of reading on him. He's a bit of a character, isn't he, Jan? Has got in a few spats down the years. I know Francesco Totti got sent off for spitting at him in Euro 2004.
He did indeed.
And a very famous story, I think it was a few years later, when he punched Marcus Rosenberg, the Swedish striker, in the stomach, got sent off. A Danish fan came running onto the pitch, and a game actually got awarded to Sweden.
Yeah, it was an incredible game. Denmark were 3-0 down, got back to 3-0, and Poulsen gave away a penalty in last minute. The game was abandoned. Eventually the Swedes were awarded the game 3-0. Eventful night.
Yes, he doesn't mind winding a few people up.
No, he doesn't. But he's had a good career. Probably had his best when he was at Seville in Spain. But in there, breaking things up.
Yeah.
He's also okay with the ball. He's been a great player for Denmark.
Given away by the Dutch. Here is Bentner. I haven't seen too much of him, but that's a nice little turn from Bentner just inside the Dutch half. Still driving forward, outside of the right foot, trying to run the run of Kallenberg. The ball was intercepted by Van der Wiel. Back to de Jong, and de Jong comes all the way back to Stekelenburg, who gives it a good clout with his right foot, long way down the pitch. And you see the shadow of the ball here as it travels through the air in this wonderful cauldron of a stadium. My first view of it today just appears like a big spaceship on the horizon as you drive out towards the southwest of Johannesburg, and all these little windows dotted around on the sort of orange, red, greyish panels. And inside, just as impressive, although, as we say, not full. 15 minutes played. Holland 0, Denmark 0. And Percy goes in, but not the best of challenges there. Doesn't win the ball, so it's back with Agger, who's had his own injury problems, of course, for Liverpool this season. Missing the first couple of months of the season, but now back. And Denmark certainly pleased to see him and Simon Kjær as their regular defensive partnership. Romedal's drifted in from the right-hand side here. He's well followed there and well tackled by Matthijsen. And now Van Bommel on the turn inside the centre circle. Van Persie's just drifted offside at the moment. Van Bommel's going to keep dribbling. With the outside of his right boot, just pokes it to Van der Wiel, who's got a few tricks of his own, just rolls the ball under his studs. He's in amongst the triangle of white Danish shirts there, but he gets the ball away. Holland 0, Denmark 0, just being played at a slow, steady pace. Schneider 40 yards out from goal. Little ball into the feet of Van der Vaart. Back to Schneider, just left it behind him there. Had to turn around quickly and collect. Holland keeping it well. We're just outside the Danish penalty area. Van der Vaart's ball back to Schneider was a little short. Just got there. Heavy tackle on him. Fair one though. Rommedahl nicks the ball off the toes of Van der Wiel, and Holland win the throw.
I think what I've noticed in this World Cup, apart from the Germans last night, no team have really looked like they've been full of running and full of energy. And even this game, when you look at the two teams, it's just a little bit slow at the moment.
Little chip ball forward towards the edge of the penalty area. Van der Vaart is trying to bring it down. Eventually does so. He has his back to goal in his bright orange shirt. Back to Schneider. Now then, here's Van Persie. Just outside the penalty area. Looks up, passes right. Kout curls the cross in towards the back post. And not taking any risk there at the back post is Blackburn's Lars Jakobsen with a little flicked header away. And I think, is that the first corner of the game?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
It is, yeah.
It was just a precision. Wesley Sneijder likes to come round the back. I mean, he's not the tallest, but when he arrives in the penalty box, he sort of peels round to the far post, and he was just trying to sneak in behind Jakobsen, but he was well aware clears it for the corner.
16 minutes played. Holland 0, Denmark 0. Here on 5 Live, your World Cup station. Every game from every ground. Corners curled in from the left-hand side. Is powerfully headed away by Kallenberg. De Jong with a first-time pass. A good one out to the left-hand side. Now the ball's driven in from the corner of the box and straight into the back of, I'm not sure who that is on the edge of the penalty area, but he certainly felt it. I think it's caught, Jakobsen has caught it.
I mean, he's an incredible strike of a ball, Sneijder.
Oh, yeah.
You know, from any distance. What a wonderful shot on him.
Again, this big camera above the players goes whizzing above their heads as play moves back into the Dutch half away to our left-hand side. Now then, Van der Wiel. Little diagonal run forward. Good run as well. There's been 3 or 4 players there. Finds Van Persie. He's trying to get it on the favoured left foot and make room for a shot or a cross. Chips a little pass across the face of the box. Brought down by Schneider with his right foot, trying to angle the cross in behind the Danish defence. Kout won't catch it. And the ball drifts out for a throw-in to Denmark on the left-hand side. Holland 0, Denmark 0, and I don't know, not Algeria, Slovenia wasn't great yesterday, Jan, and this at the moment
isn't great either.
Isn't great either, thank you, yeah.
But it looked like something was just about to develop before, but Van der Wiel's pass was just behind Van Persie, which stopped the momentum of the Dutch going forward.
Ball is back with Holland in their back four. It's Matthijsen, who plays his football for Hamburg, came up against Fulham in the Europa League semi-finals and were going to play the final at their home ground if they got through. Van Persie laying off to Van der Vaart, who's going to try another shot from range. Again, it's blocked this time by Christian Poulsen. Strong challenge on Schneider on the left-hand side. Again, a fair one. Now then, Bentner's trying to turn on the halfway line, but left the ball behind him. And this time the free kick goes to Holland inside the centre circle. They're taking it quickly to Kout. Kout to De Jong. De Jong back to Van der Vaart. Plenty of interchanging and movement from the Dutch, because Schneider had moved wide left there and Van der Vaart had gone central. Here's Van Bommel inside the centre circle. Oh, nice bit of skill from Van Persie, edge of the box, playing the ball into Van der Vaart, gets the shot away, deflected wide and out for a corner. Not sure if that was heading for the far corner anyway or going wide.
It was certainly clever play, wasn't it? Simon Kerr's just been caught a little bit, saw the ball, thought he could get there, but in the end, again, 5 or 6 players back in white shirts, crowded around Van der Vaart, blocks it out for the corner for the Dutch again.
Again, it's just a little hint of danger, a little hint of what this Holland team can produce. Just that one quicksilver touch from Van Persie. Schneider will take the corner in towards the near post, headed away by the left back Poulsen. Now the ball drops down inside the Denmark half and Rommedahl loses out. It's back in the Holland half here, and they may come all the way back to the goalkeeper Stekelenburg, although under no pressure. The ball is picked up by De Jong, 15 yards inside his own half. Heard from our Dutch journalist Valentine, who was taking us through the words of the Dutch song, which was suggesting that the fans didn't want Holland to leave the line looking embarrassed with his pants on or something like that. And so far, I wouldn't quite say they've done that, but he might be feeling a little abashed because it hasn't been terrific, and we do expect so much. Kout, halfway line here to Van der Wiel. Van der Wiel looking for options ahead of him to Van Bommel. Van Bommel plays the 1-2 with Kout. They've worked a little bit of space. Here is an opportunity. Van Bommel's ball into the edge of the box. Van der Vaart controls, little back heel, right foot shot is driven wide and behind for a goal kick, but they just seem to be warming up a little bit, Jan.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they're just moving the ball a little bit quicker. I'm actually surprised that it was Van Bommel. They got him away down the right. He's not normally renowned for coming forward. And again, it's Van der Vaart in central. He moves it from his left foot through his legs back onto his right foot. But see what he wanted to do. He wanted to bend it into the top corner. Sorensen was in control all the way, and it goes wide.
Not been a World Cup full of goals so far. I know Germany whacked in 4 last night against Australia, but it's 13 in the 8 games so far, so we could do with some more. It's a chance really to drive forward for Ina Volton here. Rifles the shot over the crossbar. It just opened up for him there in the Dutch half. He made a good 40-yard run. And again, Jan, as we were saying earlier on, so many of the shots going up and over the crossbar.
The only one who's really hit a shot well from any kind of distance, and I know he's only about 15, 16 yards, was last night, Podolski's first goal. Apart from that, they've all been the same, haven't they? Just keeps rising and rising.
Yeah, a lot of the shooting from range has disappeared way up in the stands behind the goals. 21.5 minutes played. Your England news today, if you hadn't heard, is that Ledley King, Ashley Cole and Wayne Rooney all missed training today. I think the greater concern there is over Ledley King, whose World Cup may well be over with his injury problems. They, of course, England will face Algeria next in Cape Town on Friday evening. And as I said, the world champions Italy get in action tonight. Full commentary on Italy, Paraguay at 7:30, Japan, Cameroon at 3 o'clock before that. Holland 0, Denmark 0. Long diagonal ball is out to Kout. It's an overhit pass. Kout does his absolute level best to jump to try and win the header. He applauds the pass. He applauds the attempt, the idea, but it didn't come off. The ball's gone out for a Denmark throw. We just about reached the midway point in the first half here at Soccer City. I think things will improve. I hope they will. It's Holland 0, it's Denmark 0. And here's Darren Fletcher to take you through to half-time.
Thanks, Alistair. I think we're seeing so far an awful lot of possession from Holland, but they're missing that vital spark that Arjen Robben might provide on the left-hand side. Not available today, of course. He is on the bench. As we were told earlier, had this been a really important game for Holland, then he may well have started the match. But I just feel at the moment, Jan, that they're just lacking that little bit of speed, that bit of spark that maybe Robben could provide. Yeah,
that's what he does, isn't he? He's that type of a wide man. He gets the ball, he's explosive, he goes at people. They haven't got that. They've got the other quality of players. But they haven't quite managed to really get on top and create chances as of yet.
Here's Bentner for Denmark in their white shirts and their red shorts, playing from right to left in this first half. 0-0 here on 5 Live. And there's a challenge by Simon Poulsen, the left back, on Dirk Kuyt of Liverpool. And it's gone out for a throw-in to Holland on this right-hand side. 3 o'clock today, Japan-Cameroon, also in Group E. And then from 7:30, the world champions begin the defence of their title against Paraguay in Cape Town. And just to remind you as well, visit the BBC website during the course of World Cup 2010. You can listen again to all the best bits and play our superb shootout quiz as well. The very best coverage here on the BBC on our various platforms, and of course all 64 games live from the grounds of your World Cup station 5 Live. Bright and sunny here, another cloud in the sky with the vuvuzelas droning away in the background like a swarm of angry bees. And here come Denmark towards the halfway line with Daniel Agger. There's no real desire in this Denmark team to test Holland defensively. I think they're quite happy at the moment to keep it at 0-0. It would pose a bit of a problem, you feel, though, should the Dutch find a goal, because it's very much a defensive setup this for Denmark, with the thought that maybe on occasion they might nick something on the break, Jan Mulder.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, from time to time, and we've seen it on a couple of occasions, there is possibilities when Denmark do move forward. But generally, the idea will be to be brave in terms of keeping the ball, knocking around at the back and trying to frustrate the Dutch.
They're familiar foes, these two, and Holland played a part in the greatest moments in Denmark's footballing history. Denmark beat Holland in a penalty shootout before they went on to win the European Championships in '92. Marco van Basten, of all people, missed a penalty in the shootout. Who would have thought it? They've not played for a long time, though, these two, certainly not competitively. And it's the first time they've played in the World Cup finals tournament. And the Dutch have really come into this finals as one of the favourites. They've not lost in 19 matches, and they haven't lost competitively since the semi-finals of Euro 2008 against Russia. So they're very much a side in form. They're yet to really click into gear, though, in this match. We've played 25 minutes gone, and there's not been much to write home about in terms of opportunities. There's a sloppy ball across the back line, which is picked up by Matthijssen, and then played short to Van der Vaart, just inside his own half. But when he looks forward, they're so well organised, this Danish team. There's not really an awful lot of space for Holland to play, as we get the Mexican wave on the far side, which always indicates that the crowd are finding it a bit
yeah, absolutely. Well, but what you're saying is Denmark at this type of a game, well organised,
Here's Van Bronckhorst, penalty area left side, the captain of Holland. Just had his path to goal blocked by Rommedahl. Turns out towards the touchline, delivers the cross in, and that's going to float behind, and it'll be a goal kick to Denmark away to the right. They stopped the Mexican wave when Van Bronckhorst got to the penalty area to back up my point.
Just got behind Rommedahl, but Rommedahl was quick enough to get back and do his defending. We're just coming back to Denmark, tactically very, very aware. And at the moment, the back four is playing well. There's a shield in front of them with the 5 midfield players, and the Dutch can't get through.
So 0-0. You're listening to 5 Live from the BBC with 26 minutes gone here in Soccer City Stadium in Johannesburg. Simon Kerr in possession. Might see him in the Premier League next season, you never know. One of the highly rated central defenders in Europe, the youngster in the Denmark side.
You won't see him at Palermo, I think.
Yeah.
It's just a question of where does he go.
Here comes Agger towards the halfway line for Denmark. Bentner, the lone striker, peels away from Mathiasen. It's played out to the right side and Rommedahl controls. Not really closed down by Van Bronckhorst. Crossed in, Bentner's header, and he's headed it wide. Sloppy Dutch defending. The best move of the game so far from Denmark.
Beautiful play by Denmark. Bentner's gone out so Van Bronckhorst had to come in to mark him. Then the 60-yard pass from Daniel Agger out to Rommedahl. Perfect pass. Bentner back in the middle. Great cross. He peeled off the 2 centre-halves. He's got 2 options. Go for goal or head it back across for Kallenberg. But definitely the best chance of the match.
Well, there we see the problem that you flagged up before the game. Van Bronckhorst didn't close down Rommedahl. He was able to get the cross in far too easily, and then Bentner was left virtually unmarked. The 2 central defenders had gone missing.
Absolutely. The 2 central defenders had lost Bentner in the penalty area. And I think if he had just seen Kallenberg, he could have headed it back across.
Promising for Denmark. Still 0-0. Here's Kout inside the Denmark half for Holland in these extremely bright fluorescent orange shirts with the square numbers on the back. Like we saw at Euro 2008, black shorts and orange socks. Here's Van der Vaart, probably playing for his place today if Robben's going to be available for the next match against Japan. That move breaks down, it's cleared away by Sorensen, and it's gone out for a throw-in on the far side to Holland, in front of what's probably the most orange block of the entire stadium. I think everybody in that particular block of the stadium has an orange shirt on.
There's a few of them here, isn't there? Around 10,000, I think they were saying.
Great to see the school kids here as well. We've got 2 or 3 parties of school children away to our right hand side, all armed with vuvuzelas, all wearing their school uniform, and I think that's a real feature for me, Jan. All the school children around South Africa have been given a month off. The schools have been allocated tickets.
Wonderful.
And I can't remember seeing that at many big tournaments like this, and I think it's a real feature.
That's what it's all about, isn't it? You know, get the next group of fans, get them interested, get them to games, get them a little taste of what it's all about. Having said that, they haven't picked a particularly good game to come to. So
no, they haven't. Not so far, but you get the feeling it could change when a goal is scored. Certainly if Holland scored, it might have to change the mindset of the Danish team, and if Denmark can take the lead, then Holland would certainly have to up their game, because in terms of creating stuff, despite all of the possession they've had, they've dominated in terms of having the ball. They've not really tested this Danish defence too much. 0-0. Here's Poulsen inside the Holland half. That's a firm challenge by Manchester City's Nigel de Jong. The Danish player has felt that and stayed down. It's Rommedahl as here come Holland midway inside the Denmark half. I think they might be considering kicking the ball out of play. They are, and the Danish player who's down clutching his ankle. In fact, it's Martin Jørgensen who's down. He's back on his feet now, and we're just seeing the challenge that came in from de Jong. It was a 2-footed challenge. The ball was certainly there to be won.
Yeah, but not 2-footed, surely.
But he got a big piece of Jørgensen in the process, didn't he?
That is a naughty challenge.
Bad challenge. Didn't look in real time, Jan. It didn't look as bad as it is.
I thought it was a bad challenge in real time, and the referee's 3 yards away. That was a naughty challenge, though.
Yeah. Well, he's back on his feet. There's Martin Jørgensen, the veteran player, plays for Aarhus.
Yeah, being a Viking, it won't take too long for Jørgensen to get back on his feet.
Scored at the World Cup in 1998 against Brazil in the quarter-final. 12 years as a player in Serie A. And still going strong in this Danish side, as Jan mentioned in the build-up. They've not really got much of a crop of youngsters coming through, hence the reason why Morten Olsen has had to stick with the old guard. But it served them well in qualifying. They out-qualified Portugal. They don't concede many goals. And so far in this match, with half an hour gone, they've managed to frustrate this Dutch team. Holland in possession on the right-hand side with young Gregory van der Wiel of Ajax. And down the line to Kout, and then back to van der Wiel. One of the latest in a long line of very adventurous Dutch full-backs. Loves to get forward, does Van der Wiel. Holland have switched the play now to the left-hand side, where Van Bommel gets a touch now. It's with Schneider. He's not really been able to shine so far, Wesley Schneider. had such a good season with Inter Milan, of course. Now here's Van Persie, back to Van der Vaart, who every time a Dutch player gets the ball, there seems to be 2 or 3 Danish players around them. Such is their organisation.
Well, what Denmark don't do, they don't press Holland in their own half. They allow them to come into the Denmark half, plenty of men behind the ball, and you know how the Dutch are going to play. It's going to be small into the passes, so there's plenty of opportunities for the Denmark midfielders to really get close and be competitive, and it's working.
Another free kick now for Wesley Sneijder, which is no more than 5 yards outside the centre circle.
Do you think he'll shoot again?
I think he might. There's certainly not too many options if he does dink it forward, Wesley Sneijder. He's standing over this ball. He does strike it. It's the fella standing 10 yards away, who was Jorgensen. That was a bit of a waste.
Yeah, one-man wall.
Yeah, and he managed to find him, Wesley Sneijder. Sums up his afternoon so far. Here in the sunshine in Johannesburg, with the steady sound of the Vuvuzela in the background, 1 or 2 pockets of Denmark fans in their red and white shirts, adding to the colour inside this very colourful stadium, Soccer City Stadium. Now, people keep mentioning it looks like a spaceship that's landed. It's actually modelled on what they call a calabash, which is a traditional earthenware pot that people use to cook with here in South Africa, and that's the design of the stadium. Here's Sneijder for Holland, forward to Van der Vaart, into Van Persie. Kerr gets across for Denmark and did just enough. Just managed to toe end that ball away, and it's rolled behind for a Holland corner.
Yeah, they never got away, have they, Holland? Every time something is just about to happen, there's always Danish defenders around what is happening.
Corner then to Holland on the left-hand side. That's the signal for Mathiasen to get forward, and also for Johnny Heitinger of Everton too to make his way into the penalty area. And the school children with the vuvuzelas just blow them slightly louder when they feel there might be an opportunity for a goal. And from the set piece, that's the situation that Holland have at the moment. So Sneijder from the left delivers the ball into the centre, just too high for Heitinger, who came charging in, and it's headed away by Agger for Denmark as far as De Jong. Now to Van Bommel, he lets it run for Kout, has time on the right edge of the area, low ball into the middle, hacked up by a Danish defender and hacked over his own crossbar at the expense of a corner. I thought it actually took a deflection off a Dutch player as well, not according to the referee.
Yeah, it did,
and that was an extremely promising situation for Holland.
Well, it was a low cross into the penalty area.
It shouldn't be a corner, it should be a goal kick.
Should be a goal kick.
It was Heitinger, didn't it?
It was Kallenberg's.
Here's the corner from Van der Vaart, right across and low, and it was starting to creep towards that near post area, cleared away, volleyed back in by Van der Vaart, and then headed away from inside the box by the Danish defence. And now they can maybe come on a counter-attack on the left-hand side. Ina Volsen closed down straight away by 2 or 3 Dutch defenders, but that's a fantastic ball, cross-field, out to Rommedahl. Rommedahl one-on-one with Van Bronckhorst with a shot, and that's a good save by Stekelenburg. He struck it well, and it's that left-to-right diagonal ball again that's causing the Dutch defence problems, Jan Mulder.
Yeah, beautiful play again, wasn't it? 3 or 4 Danes around the ball out here on the left, then a ball to Jurgensen, that's why he's in the team. 60-yard diagonal ball straight to the feet of Rommedahl, one-on-one against Van Bronckhorst. He was allowed the shot straight at the goalkeeper, but another good moment for Denmark.
11 minutes to go in the first half on 5 Live, 0-0. Just get the feeling though that it's starting to warm up a wee bit. Denmark have certainly found a weakness in this Holland side. Van Bronckhorst is struggling with that diagonal pass with Rommedahl, and they've got the ball again now with Christian Poulsen out towards where he thought that Rommedahl might be. He's not there now, and it rolls out of play for a throw-in level with the edge of the Dutch penalty area on the left-hand side. So 0-0. Just a reminder as well, from 7 o'clock every morning over on the Sports Extra, you can hear a highlights package of the previous day's events, all the best bits from the World Cup. It's a continuous loop over there on Sports Extra, so if you've missed anything or you want to hear the best bits again from 7 o'clock every morning, you can do just that, part of our complete coverage of this very colourful World Cup in South Africa here in 2010. 0-0, free kick to Denmark, and an opportunity, Jan, for a strike at goal here.
Well, yeah, the way it's been this game, you know, Holland have had 2 strikes and free kicks from 40 yards, and Denmark have had one from 35 yards. So here we go again. This time I think it might be a left footer, Daniel Agger possibly.
Yeah, well, Agger certainly strode forward with purpose. So did his central defensive colleague Simon Kerr.
No, I can't see him.
Kallenberg is there. Kerr's moved away now. He's got the long blonde hair like one of the American wrestlers, Simon Kerr, with the Alice band around his head.
Good at set pieces, Denmark. Work very, very hard in training at set pieces.
Well, it looks almost certain to be Daniel Agger. He's got something like an 8-yard run up here, the Liverpool man, and he strikes such a good ball from the dead ball situation, does Agger. It's about 35 yards from goal. There's a 2-man Dutch wall with a Dane on the end of it. It's taken instead by Kerr, which even fooled Jan Mulby, because he certainly won't.
But it was pointless, wasn't it?
Yeah, straight into the
wall.
Yeah. Always makes me wonder, when you've got a fellow in your team that strikes the ball as well as Agger, why would you let someone else do it?
I don't know.
Especially in a game like this where chances are quite clearly going to be at a premium.
Yeah, absolutely.
0-0. Just a bit of breeze inside the stadium. At kick-off time, the flags that the Dutch supporters were waving on the far side were blowing quite fiercely from right to left as we look at it. The flag's just underneath the roof of the stadium, the FIFA flag and the flag of Denmark and Holland, just fluttering in the breeze. So there is a bit of breeze inside the stadium at ground level. 0-0 here on 5 Live. We're about a mile above sea level here in Cape Town, so altitude is certainly an issue in this particular venue. Wesley Sneijder here of Inter Milan loses possession. He was tackled as the ball arrived, played forward by Christian Poulsen. Bentner manages to control the ball and wriggle away from Joris Matthijssen, then played to Kallenberg. Kallenberg in the area with the shot, flying to his right when Stekelenburg, and he felt the need to tip it round the post for a corner.
Well, there we saw one of the things we spoke about before the game, the lack of pace from Matthijssen. He was caught by Bentner, and it was a beautiful turn. He turned back inside, opened up the space for Kallenberg, whose job is, when Bentner drops deep to take part in the play, is to make the runs in behind.
That was actually a pretty good save, having seen it on the replay.
It's a lovely hit with his left foot.
Corner then to Denmark on the left-hand side. For all of Holland's possession, they've looked the more threatening when they've put an attack together, Morten Olsen's team. 0-0, corner on this left-hand side, and they've sent Agger into the penalty area. Kjær's in there as well. A couple of Danish players inside the 6-yard box. A bit of pushing and shoving as well, which Stefan Lanois, the referee from France, just wants to calm down. Christian Poulsen's in the thick of it, along with Dirk Kuyt in there as well. So Denmark with this corner from the left. They roll it short into the feet of Jurgensen, and then flicked in by Kallenberg from the left and headed away from the edge of the 6-yard box by Holland. Now here comes Wesley Sneijder on the counter-attack towards the halfway line. Into the feet of Van der Wiel. Sneijder continues his run down the touchline. That's decent defending by Simon Poulsen, who managed just to get his body between Sneijder and the ball, and then the weight of the pass from Van der Wiel makes it roll out of play for a goal kick.
Yeah, corners of Denmark again. They've worked something in training. They tried to create a different angle when it came into the box, and Broncos cleared it. And then you think Rommedahl, all he's got to do is put it back into the penalty area to keep the pressure on the Dutch. He completely misses the ball, and there was almost a break for the Dutch. But I think, looking at the game, because the game is slow, isn't it? I'm not sure whether the surface is really, really slow, whether we need some water on the pitch at half-time.
Certainly qualified impressively, Holland. 8 successive wins, 24 points. They qualified before anybody else from the European section. Scored lots and lots of goals along the way as well. And one interesting point is they've not lost their opening game of a World Cup finals tournament since 1938. They do tend to start well. I think the one thing that was evident at Euro 2008 was they started too well. They blew away the French and blew away Italy, and then fizzled out. You always get the feeling, Jan, that you'd like to see a team grow into a tournament.
Exactly, it's too much, isn't it? You cannot play 6-7 games in a tournament like they did early on, the Dutch. And maybe they've learned, maybe that's why they've given a little bit more, a little bit easier here today. Or maybe it's down to the way that Denmark are playing.
I think you've got to give Denmark an awful lot of credit. They're well set up, they're well organised, and when they do get the opportunity to break, they're looking pretty dangerous. 0-0, and we've got 6 minutes of this first half to play on 5 Live. It's been slightly better, this match, for the last 10 minutes or so after a very, very low tempo and low-key start here in Johannesburg. Sneijder for Holland on the left-hand side. Back it goes to Van Bronckhorst. It's such a big day for him. 100th cap. The former Barcelona and Arsenal player. Played in the European Championships 3 times. He's 35 now. It's his 3rd World Cup. And he wears the armband with pride on a big day when he wins his century of caps at international level for Holland. Denmark in possession though, with Martin Jurgensen just short of halfway, almost turned into trouble with Van der Vaart in the vicinity, rolled back to Sorensen, the goalkeeper, and then Agger's ball forward is charged down by Van Persie, and it's out for a throw-in on this left-hand side to Denmark. He's hardly been allowed into the game, Van Persie, yet.
He hasn't. The 2 players we were looking forward to the most, Sneijder and Van Persie, have simply just been crowded out by 5 or 6 white shirts all the time.
I think at the moment, Wesley Sneijder is getting a taste of his own medicine from the Champions League
absolutely.
season, because Denmark
this is Inter Milan,
like the Mourinho side, don't they, at the minute? Yeah.
Just better.
Sneijder's finding how hard it is to play against his club team at the moment. 0-0. Van der Wiel's won it back for Holland on the right. Short ball to Dirk Kuyt, who gets through a couple of challenges. Then he finds his Liverpool teammate Agger in the way. Kuyt trips him up, and that's going to be a free kick to Denmark, right by the byline, which is probably not what Thomas Sorensen wanted. He might have preferred a goal kick,
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you'll be right. That would have been much easier for Thomas. But again, it's a little bit of time wasting. Only a couple of minutes before half-time, 5 or so. Get in, Denmark. We'll be very pleased. I think there'll be more talking and organising or reorganising in the Dutch dressing room than there will be in the Danish.
Japan, Cameroon from 3 on 5 Live, also in Group E, and then Group F kicks off at 7:30 with Italy, the world champions from 4 years ago, starting off in Cape Town against Paraguay. Holland in possession here, orange shirts, black shorts, playing from left to right in Soccer City Stadium in the first half. Forward there by Van Bommel, the Bayern Munich player, down the line towards Van der Vaart, who also plies his trade in the Bundesliga. He's tackled by Agger, and it's out for a throw-in.
Throw-in for Denmark. Full-on tackle by Agger. Well-timed again.
Throw-in is just about level with the edge of the Danish penalty area. Simon Poulsen, who plays in Holland for Alkmaar, is going to take it down the left-hand side. Throws it long. Looks for the flick on from Ine Olsen. He flicked it on but flicked it out of play. And now it's Dutch ball on the halfway line. Just seeing Bert van Marwijk, the Dutch coach, on the edge of the technical area looking on. Not too concerned at the moment, but I'm sure he'd like to see a bit more invention from his team.
But I think he knows that there's more in his team, isn't he? And I don't think he's seen anything from Denmark that he didn't expect. He would just expect his players to up the tempo in the second half, individually be able to do a little bit more on the ball as well.
There's Van der Veel on the halfway line for Holland, and now Mark van Bommel. Van Bommel down the line towards Kout. Kout is now inside the Danish half, hits it forward, it'll break for Van Persie, and Van Persie's got an opportunity on his left foot, turns back onto his right, drills the shot in, took a deflection I think off Agger, not according to the referee. It went straight wide off the boot of Van Persie. It's the first real sniff he's had inside the penalty area though.
Yeah, he does his normal little bit, doesn't he? You always feel he wants to come inside on his left foot. He comes inside, shimmies, comes back onto his right foot, but by that time Agger's too close, the angle's too wide, and he goes into the side netting.
Only made 16 league starts in the Premier League this season for Arsenal because he suffered that ankle injury on international duty for Holland. Managed 9 goals during that, but those 5 months out means that he is rested for this tournament, Robin van Persie. And I know 1 or 2 people think that he might be a decent candidate to be the top scorer, but he's not really had a sniff in this match so far. He's got the ball though now inside the Danish half, where he's tackled rather easily by Daniel Agger, and Poulsen can then turn it back to his goalkeeper Sorensen, who clears over halfway. Van der Veel's header above Ine Olsen. Now here's Bentner of Arsenal inside the centre circle, just hacked out there by Nigel de Jong, who's got to be booked now.
Yeah, but he should have been booked before.
That's his second.
It's a shocking challenge again.
Poor challenge for Nigel de Jong. Stefan Lanois is going to talk to him, and now he's going to show him the yellow card. Quite rightly so.
Again, it was a good play by Bentner. Looks quite sharp, Bentner, when he's been on the ball. 1 or 2 tricks.
Still, the shenanigans have started with regard to being guarded about your team selection during the World Cup. I can never really understand it. I'm sure that Bert van Marwijk would expect Morten Olsen to pick his strongest side. I don't quite understand sometimes why it's also poke and dagger.
3 days ago, didn't we, with Bentner? I always felt that he would play.
Here's the free kick from Christian Poulsen into the penalty area towards the blonde-haired figure of Kerr. He's challenged over there by Van Persie, who's helping out, and now Van der Vaart can bring it away for Holland down the left-hand side. Playing today because Robben is injured, although will be available for Japan, we're told, and could be available off the bench if Holland need him today. There's poor control by Schneider. Don't say that very often. Christian Poulsen now fed out towards Dennis Rommedahl. Rommedahl faced over there by Mathiasen, gets away from him, and Van Bronckhorst. Van Bronckhorst has dragged him down. And you would expect Van Bronckhorst to be booked for that, Jan, because he just grabbed his jersey and dragged him to the floor.
We saw games yesterday, didn't we, where people were getting booked for dragging players back. Good skill again by Rommedahl.
He's not even given a free kick, he's actually awarded a corner.
No, that's incredible.
So I think maybe Van Bronckhorst has got away with that, and Van Bronckhorst on a yellow card against Rommedahl would be a concern for Van Marwijk, the Dutch coach. So corner to Denmark on the right-hand side with less than 10 seconds or so of the first half to go. Crossed in. It was a Danish head in the centre that got his head to the ball. It was Bentner who was jumping, and I think he's collided with Heitinger in the process. He felt that, and it's gone out for a throw-in on the near side to Holland.
I think there's possibly blood, isn't it?
He just caught the elbow, didn't he?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Bentner.
Heitinger's a tough player, Heitinger.
Well, David Moyes is part of our commentary team out here in South Africa. He was talking to us the other night, wasn't he, about Johnny Heitinger, and said what a tough cookie he is. He's leaving the field because the referee has blown the whistle for half-time. And the best chances, really, despite all the possession for Holland, have gone to Denmark. A couple of decent saves from Stekelenburg, with Dennis Rommedahl involved on both occasions, Jan Molby.
Yeah, they found a weakness in the Dutch play. You know, when they can get the ball forward quick, Denmark, to the threat. Still, you feel that there's more in the Dutch than what we've seen in the first half. So, all to play for in the second half.
Bit of a stinker for 45 minutes. Hopefully, he can get better, Mark. Half-time 0-0.
Thank you, Mark. Second half just underway. Holland 0, Denmark 0. Half-time analysis. Danes happier than Dutch. Red happier than orange. I think we saw on the stats Holland had about 60% of the possession, but the really good chances fell to Denmark. Nicholas Bentner heading wide and shot saved from Rommedahl and Kallenberg. Here's Van Persie just getting into the penalty area. Sorensen couldn't make the challenge there. He's having to scurry back to get back on his goal line. Van Persie has the ball, crosses in from the left. Oh, and it's headed into his own net. It's Simon Poulsen, I think, the Danish left back, who's headed into his own net. Holland have the lead right at the start of the second half, and all Denmark's good work is undone. The cross was a decent one from Van Persie, but it was a Dane who got the final touch. Real confusion. Holland 1, Denmark 0.
Yeah, it's incredible, isn't it? Straight from the kick-off, they've gone, and Denmark has actually been caught half asleep. They think they've got the situation under control. From nowhere, Van Persie comes across. He keeps the ball. He goes back inside on his right foot, back on his left foot, puts across it into a good area. But you think the defender's going to clear it. I think he heads it off Daniel Agger's back, and it goes into the net. Yeah. It's definitely off the back of Daniel Agger. 1-0 Holland, and you have to say, undeserved.
Absolutely spot on, Jan. I've got to say, it did look a strange header if it was going to go straight into the net, because it was almost like a striker's header. He got into a funny position, Simon Poulsen, but it's a header. I'll tell you what, it was going pretty close to the goal anyway, but it struck Agger on the back.
In that situation, as a left back, defending the far post, you hit those balls out for the corner, regroup and defend.
So, there's a bit of a start to the second half here at Soccer City in Johannesburg. Holland leading Denmark by a goal to nil. We just had a 15-minute chat at half-time, Jan, about what Holland had to do to try and change things. We were talking about possibly replacing Van der Vaart, weren't we, with Elia on the left-hand side, and possibly taking Nigel de Jong out, but all of a sudden 1-0 up.
Yeah, what they needed to do, the Dutch, was obviously score a goal, and you felt the way that the first half was going, they weren't going to score. And then you think, do they need two sitting midfield players in the game that are going to dominate? They have identical wide men that don't really attack fullbacks and get to the byline and put crosses in. So there was a number of things they could do. Now they're winning 1-0. All of a sudden, the coach has been proved right. This was the right way to go.
The other talking point from the first half, if you have just tuned in on 5 Live this afternoon, is that Nigel de Jong, who has a yellow card to his name, could very easily have been sent off for a straight red, possibly even for a two-footed jump into a challenge in the first half. Definitely should have picked up a yellow for that, and quite deservedly got a second yellow as well, which obviously is his only yellow in the game, but Denmark could possibly point to that at the end of the game as a little issue for them. Anyway, they trail by a goal to nil and have played well, apart from defending that cross, up until this point. Team lineups for you in the second half. No changes at half-time. Stekelenburg from Ajax in goal for Holland. A back four of Van der Wiel, Heitinga, Matthijsen and Van Bronckhorst, winning his 100th cap this afternoon. Van Bommel and de Jong on the yellow card in front of that back four. Dirk Kuyt wide right. Van der Vaart, who we were talking about, wide left. Arjen Robben, of course, missing with the hamstring problem. He's on the bench. And Robin Van Persie, who had one decent right-footed strike in the first half that he drove wide of the goal. That is the Holland lineup. I'll give you Denmark in just a second. They're in white shirts, red shorts, white socks, trailing by a goal to nil. And in this second half are in the left hand of the pitch as we look down from way above the two-team dugouts, playing from left to right. Their half of the field pretty much in shade, a big sort of semicircular cut of shade across the pitch from the huge swooping roof above us. Oh, Poulsen just took a knock in the face from Van Persie there.
The referee.
Keir, yeah. Keir was passing the ball out of defence.
And a booking.
And Van Persie will get booked. Van Persie, there was a little flick of the hand. Van Persie saying he didn't mean to do it. He definitely caught him, though.
Yeah, he did, yeah. He was just coming across. It's a typical striker's one, isn't it? Trying to get across to block the forward pass. And as he's run past Keir, he just, whether he nuts him with the hand or with the elbow, I'm not too sure. But definitely, referee spots it.
Yeah.
He gives him a little slap.
A little flick with the right hand. Thomas Sorensen's in goal for Denmark. A back four of Jakobsen, Kjær, who we're just talking about, Agger and Poulsen, who combined for the own goal. Poulsen heading in off the back of Agger. Christian Poulsen and Martin Jorgensen in front of them. Dennis Rommedahl, who's caused Van Bronckhorst all sorts of problems in the first half wide right. Thomas Enevoldsen, who plays his football in Holland, with Groningen wide left, and Kallenberg supporting Bentner up front. Now a set-piece opportunity here for Denmark. It'll be a throw-in from the right-hand side. Long throw in towards the near post from Jakobsen is powerfully headed away. And we'll drift out for another Denmark throw, which Kjær will take and just gently throw back into his own half. So Agger steps out from shadow into sunshine, this slight breeze blowing around Soccer City. Nice little turn from Bentner, gets away from his man, then just the pass goes a little bit behind Enevoldsen. Here's Simon Poulsen, the left back, who gets past Kout, keeps going, but the final touch comes off him and the ball goes out for a Holland goal kick. So 5 minutes played, Holland leading Denmark by a goal to nil. As you were saying in the first half, Jan, Denmark don't score all that many, so...
No, and it will be interesting to see what they do now. You know, whether they really gamble, leave themselves open to try and get back into the game. I mean, we might even be looking at 1 or 2 substitutions pretty soon, because the team was set up to do a certain type of job. And whether that team is out there now is capable, now that they're 1-0 down, I'm not too sure. So we might see substitution pretty quickly.
Holland with a rather fortunate lead, leading Denmark by a goal to nil. Van Persie's cross headed by the left-back Poulsen into the back of Agger. And the ball agonisingly drifting past.
It's a poor
Thomas
header,
Sorensen.
though, isn't it?
Oh,
Whatever way we look at it.
Yeah,
it's a poor defensive header.
He seemed to just get himself in a funny position.
Yeah, he did, yeah, absolutely.
So, Holland 1, Denmark 0. 6 minutes played in the second half. Against the constant backdrop. Oh, dreadful pass out by Kjær. It's picked up by Kout. Kout's ball is a good one. Van Persie's in. He's let that run a little too far. Sorensen saves at his feet. Van Persie didn't pull the trigger in time. The first touch wasn't great either. What an opportunity.
Why does he not pull the trigger? I mean, it's a shocking pass out from the back. Simon Kjær. Then he gets dragged across. Van Persie's got all the time in the world. It's a difficult angle, but at least you've got to have a shot. Not sure what he tried to do, whether he wanted to take it around the goalkeeper.
Yeah.
He should have just controlled it and hit it.
I just wonder, Jan, whether the first touch there just took him a bit too far.
Yeah.
The
The first touch was a bit too straight, wasn't it? He wanted to go in towards goal to make the angle slightly better.
Don't want to make excuses for the players, but just from the sort of 1.5 games I've watched so far at this World Cup, it does seem to be a problem controlling this new ball that everyone's talking about in terms of killing it stone dead immediately. And
with your first touch.
Yeah.
Because it's lively, isn't it?
Yeah. I think it's lighter, isn't it?
Yeah, but in a situation like that, what you want to do in an ideal world as a striker is not have your eyes on the ball, because you know where the ball should be. So you're looking at the movement of the goalkeeper. And maybe you just need to have a little look, because the ball is so lively, and it might just bounce, and I might just have put off Van Persie.
Holland leading Denmark by a goal to nil. It was Van Persie's cross that was headed into the Denmark net by the combination of the two defenders. It's a Denmark free kick that comes into the penalty area. Hearing that Jesper Gronkjær may be about to enter the action for Denmark, which would of course be an attacking substitution. Rommedahl floats across into the Dutch box. It is nodded away by Van Bommel, who's back there defending, and the ball will go out for a Denmark throw on the left-hand side. So this game in Group E will be followed by Japan-Cameroon, just hearing from Arlo in Bloemfontein at 3 o'clock this afternoon. The other two teams in Group E. Free kick there has gone against Denmark for a handball by... was that Kallenberg with his hand? As he was trying to control it was. And then Italy-Paraguay this evening, 7:30. Tomorrow's football, by the way, 12:30, New Zealand against Slovakia in Rustenburg. And a couple of cracking games to follow that. 3 o'clock, Ivory Coast against Portugal in Port Elizabeth. And at 7:30, back in Joburg at Ellis Park, Brazil, against the fascinating entity that is North Korea. But Ivory Coast, Portugal, I mean, that group, actually, full stop, Jan, is a tasty one.
Yeah, it is. But I mean, sometimes a lot of people say what you want in the World Cup is an easy group. I'm not so sure. I think you want to get into the mood and the swing of things. And I don't think you mind playing tough games. Get yourself ready, get yourself a real knowledge of what it takes, to win games, to cope with the altitude and the weather and everything. So I don't think that is a massive problem.
Yeah, Mulby with us on Radio 5 Live this afternoon at Soccer City. Van Bommel's gone down holding his head here. He's taken a whack in the face accidentally from Jakobsen, who's frustrated with the decision. Holland get the free kick. One player I do want to ask you about, Jan, and I'll do it when we get another break in play, is this 18-year-old Christian Eriksen, who is in the Danish squad and is supposed to be, I know he's been billed as the next Michael Laudrup. There's probably a few players that have had that billing. He's supposed to be a very exciting young talent, so I'd like to get your your thoughts on him and how much possibly we'll see of him at this World Cup, and why not now, because the ball's gone out for a Denmark goal kick.
Well, he's warming up. I don't think he's the man to come on now. I think Gronkia might be the favourite to be the first one to come on, but I think we'll see him, because this, as it is now, is a free game, isn't it? You can give Eriksson half an hour against the Dutch. Well, Denmark are losing anyway, but he's used to playing against the Dutch. He plays in the Dutch league with Ajax, but as a footballer, he's everything you want. Yes, he's not the biggest, but he's quick, he's got 2 good feet, he wants to go forward, sees a pass, scores a goal. I think he's going to go right to the top.
Van der Veel's just sliced the clearance up in the air. We played 10 minutes in the second half at Soccer City. We've had the goal right at the start of the second half. I've got to say, it hasn't actually improved things all that much, has it?
It's had no impact on what is happening now on the pitch. And it's one of those, I think half the crowd who might have arrived late for the second half is not even aware that there's been a goal, because it's still the same, isn't it?
Yeah, and you're just worried that another Mexican wave may start again soon, which is always a very, very bad sign. Here is the change for Denmark. It is indeed Gronkia who's coming on for Enevoldsen. The man from Groningen will make way for Gronkia. So another, I guess what you call like Rommedahl, a sort of veteran flyer. Jesper Gronkia now playing his football for Copenhagen, 32 years old, vastly experienced, former Chelsea man, of course, who played a really important part in the club's recent history, scoring a goal on the final day of the season of 2000-2003, which got Chelsea into the Champions League ahead of Liverpool. A lot of people said that was a big part sort of in the Abramovich takeover. Was in that Chelsea team that made the semi-finals of the Champions League the following season, then disappeared off to Birmingham. But he's always done a good job, hasn't he, Jan?
He's a similar threat to Rommedahl down the right. He's a wide man who takes on fullbacks, wants to get to the byline. He hasn't come on for his goal-scoring abilities because he hasn't scored for Denmark for 6 years. So.
That's right. I think it was Euro 2004, wasn't it, against Bulgaria, I think, that he last scored. Anyway, here he is, left-hand side. He's going to have a little run at Heitinga, who's been dragged out from the centre. Heitinga gets the challenge in and knocks the ball out for a throw. Denmark in their white shirts, red shorts, white socks, and Holland. You can picture them, of course, at home. Familiar kit. It's the bright orange shirts with the black trim, the black numbers, and the orange socks. And they have this throw in to defend.
Long throw. It's going to be a long throw. It's a centre-half. Agger taking it.
Daniel Agger, who's going to wipe the ball on his white shirt. Remember, flying through altitude here, so the ball should travel. Uses the hoardings for a little bit of launch. In it comes into the penalty, drops down, is flicked on, and the goalkeeper eventually just gets there at his far post under a little bit of pressure. And actually, there was a free kick on him. There was a challenge on him at the back post, which there didn't seem to be too much in that.
No, there wasn't a problem, was it? Both centre-halves forward. Agger took the throw in. Kjær flicked it on. There wasn't anyone to take advantage. But it does seem a little bit, maybe in the last 3 or 4 minutes, that the play have just been transferred into the Dutch half. Denmark might just be slightly on top at the moment. But behind, yes. Trailing by a goal to nil, and a frustrating one to concede as well. In the early seconds of the second half, an own goal. Simon Poulsen heading it onto the back of Agger from Van Persie's cross past Sorensen, and after the performance, the really sort of committed, organised, disciplined performance that Denmark had put in. Well, you couldn't see that coming, could you?
No, and that's why it was so annoying to Morten Olsen. And
he'll be sitting on the bench thinking, how did that happen? That shouldn't have happened.
But he is a man who's seen it all before, coming up to 10 years in charge. What a lovely little back heel from Nigel de Jong there. Real touch of class from him. Has got the Dutch going away down the left-hand side. Van Persie holds the ball up and then moves up to the edge of the penalty area. Curls a little pass in. It's dinked. And Sorensen makes the save from Van der Vaart. Looked like it might just clear him into the top corner. And Sorensen had enough height and enough stretch to make the catch.
Yeah, I actually think he was trying to lay the ball into Wesley Sneijder, who was the third man running into the penalty area. Well, lovely skill by the Dutch. The 3 big boys involved. Van der Vaart, Sneijder made the run. The pass from Van Persie.
13 minutes played in the second half on BBC Radio 5 Live. Holland leading Denmark by this goal to nil. Here's Simon Kjær, the centre-back, with the blonde hair and the headband. Gets it to Rommedahl, who comes zipping in from the right-hand side. Van Bronckhorst does get a good challenge in on him that time. He just walked onto the right foot of Van Bronckhorst, who knocked the ball out for a throw, which Lars Jakobsen will take, former Everton man, now playing his football for Blackburn. Jorgensen tried to chip one into the penalty area towards Kallenberg, couldn't control it, and it will come straight through to the Dutch keeper, Stecklenburg, who will dribble in towards his 6-yard box. He'd eat up a little bit of time. Long shadow falling behind him inside his penalty area. Bright sunshine in Johannesburg again, and he's given that ball an absolute thump downfield. Look at the bounce. Well, inside the penalty area, Sorensen jumps, as does Van der Vaart. They have a little word to each other, but that really travelled. Here's Agger. There's a little bit of dribbling on the edge of his own penalty. You've got to be careful there. Van Persie puts him under pressure. Sorensen Well, it's goalkeeper kicking to goalkeeper now. Sorensen's just cleared downfield and it's gone straight to Stekelenburg. So, not quite what we expected from the Dutch.
We were hoping, weren't we, that once they scored, it would have an impact on the game one way or the other. And it hasn't. It's still the same. It's slow. Neither team really on top. Nothing is happening. There's been no individual brilliance either, which is a real surprise.
And Arjen Robben, of course, yet to feature, sits on the bench, did warm up before the game with the other substitutes. We're told he should be ready for Holland's next game. That's against Japan in Durban on Saturday. Nigel de Jong just strolls forward and taps it back to Schneider. No real pressure on the Dutch at the moment. Ball is flicked through, offside. I thought the flag was going to go up there. Van Persie's going to clip the ball past Sorensen into the net. It won't count, but I think the fans will cheer because they've had not much else to cheer, so they'll go with that. And Van Persie's claiming is he saying he didn't hear the whistle?
Well, he's got to be careful, hasn't he? He's been booked. But why does the referee go over and say? It's one way or the other, isn't it?
Yeah.
He must have heard the whistle. He still decides to put the ball in the back of the net.
He'll claim the vuvuzelas were blasting him out. We did have one Dutch fan who wandered into our breakfast room at the hotel this morning with a vuvuzela at about 8 o'clock and gave it a little toot, and there was a few people in there who told him he shouldn't. Ball's played through to Bentner. He's offside. So Holland will get a free kick.
There's a time and place for the vuvuzelas, isn't there? You know.
I was just going to say, but they're good in the stadium. I like it. Yeah, I mean, it's a different World Cup. We've never been in Africa, and it's
part of what they do out here, isn't it? And it belongs at football games in South Africa.
It's also very interesting, actually. I was flicking radio stations earlier in the week. Denmark are looking to make another change here, and actually play will be stopped so that they can do it. Bentner is going to come off. Well, that is interesting because possibly Morten Olsen has decided here that let's save him.
The legs.
Let's not get him hurt because we're going to have to win our other two games against Japan and Cameroon. Mikael Beckman will come on. What can you tell us about him?
Well, relatively newcomer at this level. He was one of the players I spoke about during the first half that the coach have probably found just not quite up to this level. But now it's a chance, isn't it? It's a gamble. And again, as we said, it's a free half an hour for the young player to possibly show what he can do.
Less than half an hour to play. Just moving into that final half hour. Holland leading Denmark by 1-0. A sort of freaky own goal. Simon Poulsen, the left back, getting into a bad position from Van Persie's cross, heading towards his own net, was going wide. It hit Agger and ended up in the back of the net. Denmark have only ever lost one group game in their 3 World Cups so far, which was against France.
World champions.
Who were world champions. Who went on to become world champions in 98. We were just talking about it, Jan, as we came here to the ground. Denmark in World Cups always get out of the groups. The only games they've lost are to Brazil in the quarterfinals in 98, to France, to Spain and England. I mean,
nothing wrong with the record.
No, it's good.
Very impressive.
It's good, and possibly to Holland today. Possibly more changes are going to be made, but Denmark have possession inside their half. So Beckman has come on for Bentner. Schneider, I haven't seen anything of him in this second half, and Kier gets I thought that was a decent tackle on Schneider. Probably a bit of ball and man. Free kick's gone Holland's way.
Just Bentner's getting strapped up with a bit of ice. He's growing, so he's still got a bit of a problem. Booking for.
Kier.
Yeah.
Kier gets booked, maybe for the reaction after the tackle. Do you think, Jan, he didn't seem very happy with the decision anyway? A little bit of a concern for Denmark. That one of the key men got his knee injury against Senegal in the warm-up game, and there was a real doubt about whether he would be able to start in this World Cup. Has been very impressive for Palermo since joining them in 2008. Possibly we may see him elsewhere next season. Holland 1, Denmark 0. 18 and a half minutes gone. Here's Van Bronckhorst with the yellow captain's armband strapped tightly around his left bicep. Ball flicked forward by Matthijsen. Easily cut out. Lars Jakobsen for Denmark knocks one down the right wing. Matthijsen under a little bit of pressure there from Beckman, who's just come on the field. Denmark playing in tight spaces, trying to win it and get a handball decision, I think, there down the left-hand side, and have a free kick and a chance to... It's a throw-in, in fact. Throw-in's gone to Denmark. No, it's not. It's a free kick. I was right. The player got it wrong and I got it right. I should have trusted myself. And so Den will take this free kick. It's Lars Jakobsen and Daniel Agger's actually come trotting over.
With his left-footing swinger. Everybody forward again.
And the sunshine's just slightly bothering Stekelenburg there. I just saw him. You can see him there just holding his right hand up, and the sun's shining off his white glove as Agger curls one in towards the back post. Kier's trying to get on the end of it, nods it back into the box. Volleyed away by Van der Wiel, the right back, who comes chasing out after his clearance. Picked up by Poulsen. Little ball into the feet of Gronkjaer, who passes out away to the left-hand side. Cross comes in towards the back post, ahead of everyone, and drifts behind for a goal kick.
Yeah, it's probably in situations like that when you need people like Nicholas Bentner to be in the penalty area. You knew what was coming. The ball has been played back out to Kallenberg. He's got all the time in the world. He sets himself up for the cross, and as he crosses into a perfect position, no Danes to attack it.
I've got to say, Jan, you do still have the players' instincts. The first half in particular, when I wasn't commentating, Bentner got in at the far post. You were up there when you were on your feet and you were ready to try and nod the ball into the back of the net.
That was a chance though, wasn't it?
Oh, it was a really good chance watching it on the replays at half-time. Flick on here to Van Persie, but foul is given against Kout for the challenge. And Elia, now we were talking about this fella at half-time, young speedy winger for Holland.
That's the one.
And he probably will come on for Van der Vaart, because that would be a like-for-like change.
You would think so, wouldn't you?
He's a Hamburg player, just had his first season with them. Scored against Scotland, actually, at Hampden Park in qualifying in a 1-0 win.
But it'd definitely give him something else, wouldn't it? A different option with his pace down the flank.
So here's Kjær on the yellow card, who pings a wonderful pass out towards the left-hand side, and Poulsen, who's brought it down on his chest. Kout's done really well. I mean, that's something that he definitely offers you, Dirk Kuyt, on the right-hand side. Great tracking back. Good tackle from him. Van der Wiel thought about passing, then thought, no, I fancy a little run here, and he started speeding up away down the right-hand side. And the referee's told him he's fallen over a bit too easily there, so the ball has gone out for a Denmark throw.
Was that rugby tackle? Gronke, I think Gronke knew he was in trouble, wasn't it? Van der Wiel is very quick. He knocks it around him, wants to go round him, and Gronke, I think, just used all his experience and just blocked his run. Referee, I don't know whether he got that wrong or not, but play on anyway.
Van der Wiel is one of those sort of combustible Dutch players that we were stereotyping before the game, but he's had his issues. I think thrown out of Ajax as a young boy and has been given a second chance. And missed a Holland trip to Australia last year with injury, and then posted pictures of himself on Twitter at a rap concert, which I don't think went down too well with the management. In fact, Holland's players have been banned from using Twitter during the World Cup. Probably not a bad idea. Here comes the change. Elia will come on, and he will replace Van der Vaart. So we've got that right. Holland leading Denmark by 1-0, and the game has definitely not been a World Cup classic. And it does put just that little bit more pressure on Denmark if this result stays the same in their last two games, because Japan and Cameroon won't be pushovers.
No, it's not I mean, people expect Holland to win the group, which I think they will. But the other three teams, much of a muchness. The only good thing is, from Denmark's point of view, is that 4 points might get you through to the second round.
Well, Denmark have a throw, and I think that's Morten Olsen with the silvery hair and the spectacles, who's just come out to have a little word with his troops. Haven't seen him make too many forays to the edge of the pitch. Ball's picked up by Rommedahl, who thought about going forward, turned backwards. Now Agger might fancy this. Long way out, left-footed shot, deflected, and just dribbles harmlessly into the arms of Stekelenburg. We've reached the midway point of the second half. Slightly fortuitous own goal has Holland in front. Holland 1, Denmark 0. Here's Darren Fletcher.
Thanks, Alistair. Not surprised that Elia's come on. Always get the impression that Van der Vaart and Wesley Sneijder want to do the same job in this Holland side. At least they've got a bit of pace out wide now that Robben, of course, will provide them as the tournament goes on. So Holland leading Denmark by 1-0 on 5 Live. Whether it's Simon Poulsen or Daniel Agger that's going to be credited with the own goal. Header was certainly directed towards the goal by Poulsen, in off Agger's back. The camera certainly managed to dwell on Simon Poulsen a little bit longer than Daniel Agger. You can see the look on his face. Since then, though, not really much of a chance for either team. Holland have probably had just slightly the better of it, and there's not really an awful lot of desire from Denmark to try and equalise in the match. Here's Mathiasen for Holland, into the feet of De Jong, and then forward towards Wesley Sneijder. Elia gets his first touch on this left-hand side, the youngster from Hamburg, and he's spun away impressively from two Danish players, and he's into the penalty area. Elia slabs it square towards Van Persie, still not clear by Denmark. It should be now. Kjær gets it out of play for a throw-in, but that is what Elia can do, Jan Molden.
Well, he's got pace, hasn't he? I think he gets a little bit of luck. He gets a slight deflection of one of the Danish defenders, but he's away. And then the pass, he tried to just slide it down the side for Van Persie, but again, Kjær defending well.
Well, his pace might lead to a bit more excitement for the last 20 minutes or so. Van Bronckhorst crossed into the middle, far too deep in the centre for Van Persie, and Gronkjaer's got it left-hand side. The one thing he can't do is push it past Van der Wiel and beat him for pace. So the Ajax youngster gets it back to his club colleague Stekelenburg, the goalkeeper in all blue, on the edge of his penalty area, in the part of the pitch that's still bathed in Johannesburg sunshine. And then it's cleared forward by the Centurion Giovanni van Bronckhorst. There's a handball by Van Persie, and it's going to be a free kick to Denmark midway inside their own half. There's certainly a lot of room for improvement, Jan, in what we've seen from this Dutch performance today.
Yeah, there is. I mean, the expectations were, and probably rightly so, because they do have some wonderful players, but it's not quite working. And as you rightly said, Van der Vaart, Sneijder wants to do the same job. They didn't really have a threat in behind. They didn't have anyone to take on the Danish fullbacks.
Romedaal's got away from Van Bronckhorst. He's at the byline and he delivers the cross into the centre, and it's just headed away by Kout, who was able to take the ball away from Dronkiar and then clear up the right-hand side. But for the first time in the second half, we see Dennis Romedaal causing a problem for the Dutch captain Giovanni van Bronckhorst. Saw that happen a couple of times in the first period, and that was a good position for Denmark.
And I think he did his job, Romedaal. He's often criticised for not being able to put quality balls into the penalty, but I think he put a good cross in there, just couldn't quite get late midfield runners into the box.
Not for the first time. Agger has lost the possession inside his own half, and here's the pacey Elliot on the left-hand side. Rolled back now to Wesley Sneijder, and then Sneijder square to Van Bommel. He can take a touch and hit it, and that's a hopeless effort by Mark Van Bommel.
Was there really any point in that shot? When he got the ball, Van Bommel, you can instantly see where the player wants to shoot from where he is, and I think in the end he was forced to shoot because he had so much time, but the effort was pathetic.
Just seeing a shot of Holland's three wise men sat on the bench in their suits. Bert van Marwijk is the coach, assisted in this tournament by Frank de Boer, who was a pretty good player himself, wasn't he?
Yeah, both were, weren't they? The de Boer brothers.
Is it Frank or is it Ronald? It's Frank, isn't it? Frank's here.
I think
Frank's part of the squad. Frank was the defender. So Denmark in possession inside the Dutch half with Thomas Kallenberg. He'll be managed by Steve McLaren at Wolfsburg next season. Now to the veteran Dronkiar on the left. Takes on Heitinger, gets the cross in from the left-hand side. It's deep into the middle. A little bit too deep for Romedaal, who sprints towards this near-side touchline and can't keep the ball in play. And it'll be a throw into Holland on the left-hand side as Morten Olsen prepares his third and final change. And it's the young player that Alistair and Jan were talking about earlier, the teenager Christian Eriksen from Ajax. This could be exciting for the Danish fans in here, Jan.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously a lot to expect to come on against Holland and be able to make an impact. But the boy can play, and as I said, young play, he's got a long, long way to go, but I think he'll go all the way to the top. Just hope he can have an impact in this game.
Plays for Ajax at the moment, but there are one or two reports already starting to circulate that the likes of Real Madrid and Manchester United are monitoring Christian Eriksen's progress. And he's coming on for Thomas Kallenberg. So Kallenberg off and Eriksen on.
Yeah, that's where he plays. You know, he plays in behind a lone striker, comes from wide positions. 2 good feet, very quick, wants to play forward.
So 2 quick players brought on by the respective coaches. Here's one of them, Elliot, who really is tormenting Lars Jakobsen, the Danish right back. He's got the ball near the byline, Elliot, spins away, makes a bit of room for the cross, floats it into the middle, fisted away by Sorensen, picked up now by Van Bommel. Van Bommel will make his way into the penalty area. Van Bommel with a drive, side netting. Good effort by Mark Van Bommel, and a lot of pressure there on the Danish goal.
Yeah, there was. I mean, this starts again with the left winger Elias come on. It's a great cross into the penalty box. Danish goalkeeper and Agger nearly gets in each other's way. When it's clear, Van Bommel shoots from an angle. Good save by Sorensen. Surprised that the assistant didn't actually give a corner. The referee had to do it, but it was a good save by the Danish goalkeeper.
Very good save, and a far better strike than the hopeless one we saw from Van Bommel a couple of minutes ago.
But there's a bit of life in the game now, isn't it?
Here's the corner, swung in from the right, headed by Van Persie, who was unmarked in the centre, and he didn't catch it right, it's headed wide.
It appears that the players have got a problem with the flight of the ball, isn't it? A couple of times they missed just it. This time it was Van Persie.
Explain to me though, Jan, why they spend so many hours making different footballs for each tournament. I mean, this one, it's like one of those you get free with your petrol at the garage.
It is indeed, yeah.
As soon as it gets a gust of wind, it blows out of the way.
I have no idea. I mean, probably the idea was that they wanted more goals. That hasn't been the case, has it?
No, not at all.
Well, we saw all the balls yesterday, didn't we?
We did, yeah. Still like the Tango from 1978. That was the one. Argentina one. Yeah, they're the ones. Big display case in one of the hotels of all the balls.
The World Cup history of the football.
And this one they've got in this tournament looks totally different to any of the others. Even the one from 2 years ago at the European Championships, which still looked like a football, a leather football. This looks like it's plastic and light. It looks the way it plays. So Holland leading Denmark by 1-0. You can tell not much is going off because we're talking about the football. 16 minutes to play. And here's Elliot, one of the real bright spots in this match. He's really been adventurous since coming on, and his pace has caused Jakobsen a problem. Floated forward by Schneider, headed away from just outside the Danish penalty area by Simon Kjær, and then picked up on the left-hand side by Gronkjaer. He's certainly seen plenty of the ball since coming on, the former Chelsea man, and he's battling with Van der Veel on the left-hand side. Help arrives in the shape of Van Bommel, and it's cleared away towards Kuyt, midway inside the Holland half on the right. Forward then by the Bayern Munich man Van Bommel. Agger judges the flight of the ball and then hooks it out of play, but Van Persie I think might have been offside, and it's going to be a free kick as we get a shot of one of Jan Molby's former teammates here in the stadium today, the legendary Johan Cruyff.
What a player he was. He doesn't look particularly happy though, does he?
No. Beckman's offside at the other end now, and it's going to be a Holland free kick.
I think he's disappointed with his Dutch team, the way they're playing.
It's not really been total football, has it?
No, it has most definitely not been anything like the national sides that Johan Cruyff played in.
The cynics might suggest that Holland are maybe totally overrated at this stage of the competition.
It could be.
Still got to...
Playing like they are doing today, they won't get far.
Not, absolutely not. Forward towards Kuyt, that's headed away by Simon Poulsen, the left back, then forward by Van Bommel. It'll break for Van Persie, who's not going to latch onto that via a ricochet. And I think, well,
flag was up.
Flag was up, but if it's come off a Danish player, how can Van Persie be offside?
No, he couldn't have been, could he? It was Agger, wasn't he, who missed just the ball. This time he didn't bounce.
French officials, he's just shown one or two signs in this match at times, Agger, that he's got a mistake in him today.
Yeah.
Given the ball away in a couple of key areas.
He hasn't been his assured self.
No, he hasn't.
He started the game with a mistake, didn't he?
Yeah, not really recovered, has he?
No, sloppy back pass.
We've talked about Johan Cruyff. Let's add a couple more legends to the mix. Zinedine Zidane and Michel Platini. We've got a pretty good five-a-side team, you know. I think I could go in goal behind you four.
Well, you'd fill it, wouldn't you? But Platini he's the best player I've ever played against.
I'm going to pass no comment whatsoever.
Okay, Van Persie's off.
Yes, he is. And replacing Robin Van Persie is the number 20, Ibrahim Afellay, who is another predominantly wide player.
Yeah, Dirk Kuyt will go up front, won't he?
Yeah, has played as a defensive midfielder for PSV Eindhoven, so he's coming on. Van Persie's going off. Not been the best of starts to the World Cup for Van Persie.
No, he...
A couple of chances, Jan, and not really seemed that confident in front of goal.
No, but he looked very sharp, hadn't he, in the warm-up games?
Yes.
Got amongst the goals, and big things were expecting. And as I said before the game, they trained extremely well. He's been banging them in training, but he wasn't his usual self today.
Now, the one thing Holland have got now is a bit of speed out wide on both sides of the field.
Yeah, they can take on the Danish fullbacks now, and they will get opportunities because surely Denmark are going to gamble soon and give it a real go to try and get back into the game. But they have a free kick from 35 yards. We kind of know the drill. Wesley Sneijder will probably shoot.
Well, we know the drill. Wesley Sneijder shoots and it goes over the crossbar. That's the way it seems to work in the tournament so far. No. Rolls it square for Van Bommel. Here come Holland then in their orange shirts, leading by a goal to nil. That own goal, seconds after the restart of the second half. 5 live from the BBC, your World Cup station. Affelay's first touch, spins away from Beckman and rolls it back for De Jong, who's managed to behave himself in the second half after picking up one yellow. Might have picked up another one, which would have equalled a red for a couple of poor challenges. Agger under pressure from Kuyt. Again, he doesn't clear his lines, Daniel Agger. Kuyt's won it back for Holland. Elias ball in towards Afellay, inside the box. Afellay controls, turns out towards the left, drills the ball right across the 6-yard box, and there wasn't a Dutch striker in the centre to finish it off.
Well played. Did exactly his job. Created the space, spun onto his left foot, put a lovely ball in between the goalkeeper and the defender, but no one there.
And it remains Holland 1, Denmark 0, with 11 and a half minutes of the game to go. 3 o'clock, by the way, Bloemfontein, Japan against Cameroon, also in Group E. And then from 7:30, it's Italy against Paraguay in Cape Town. 83,465 is the attendance. Now, that's absolute nonsense, because we were here for the opening game, and they announced the attendance for the opening game as 84,000, and there's nowhere near as many people inside this stadium today as there was here for the opening match. 1-0 to Holland, and the Denmark attack breaks down. De Jong was appealing for a foul. He's not going to get it because Holland have got the ball, and it's with Afellay. Sloppy ball back towards Van Bommel, who was easily dispossessed by the Danish midfield. Played short then by Jurgensen to Poulsen, and then running forward through the centre went Eriksson, but he runs into a Dutch player, and Holland can come again down this left-hand side with Wesley Sneijder. Schneider's got Kuyt ahead of him, Schneider instead will go to this left-hand side, and Elia to Kaut. Elia's continued his run. Kaut on the left edge of the penalty area. Into Elia is offside. Only just saw Daniel Agger look across, hopefully, to the line.
Yeah, he's just lost him again, hadn't he? But you would think, wouldn't you, with the impact he's had coming off the bench, that he would have more than a good chance of playing in the next game.
There's an opportunity down this. Well, it would have been an opportunity down the right-hand side for Jurgensen, but I think he thought the ball was going to slow down, and it didn't. And it's rolled out for a throw into Holland on the left. Certainly looks an exciting player, Elia, but of course he's got to. If Elia starts, that means that Robin doesn't play, which you would expect Robin to come in for the Japan match.
Yeah, but you've got to have a look at the balance and how you want to play, haven't you? But of course, he could also be. He will always be a great threat off the bench, wouldn't he?
They've looked a lot better with Elia on and Van der Vaart off.
Yeah.
And Schneider's seen much more of the ball since Van der Vaart has been taken off by the Dutch coach. I remember to take a look on the BBC website, by the way. All the best bits are on there. And we've got a quiz as well, a shootout quiz. Have a go at that on the BBC website, www.bbc.co.uk/World Cup. And Sports Extra from 7 o'clock every morning has our regular highlights reel, all the best bits from the day before. If you want to listen back to what's been happening here in South Africa, then Sports Extra, our digital channel, from 7 o'clock every morning. We've got 9 minutes to play here in Soccer City in Johannesburg, still bright and sunny, 1 or 2 wispy clouds in the sky, and Nigel de Jong has gone down.
Cramp.
With cramp
in his calf
in front of the Dutch bench, as we get a shot of Robin, who sat on the Dutch bench with some sort of pack on his left hamstring. He's still got it taped up, as Arjen Robben. So we'll see just how fit he's going to be should he start that match against Japan next week. Here come Holland on the right-hand side with Afellay. And then square it goes to Schneider, back to Afellay again, forward to Schneider, right edge of the penalty area, manages to turn. Schneider just outside the box, deflected left foot shot, and that hits the top of the crossbar. Don't think Sorensen got a touch. He was so close to a second Holland goal.
Yeah, he knew straight away, Sorensen, that he was going to be in trouble. It's just a deflection, it takes it over the goalkeeper. It's actually off Daniel Agger, over the goalkeeper, top of the crossbar.
It's spun like Bremer's free kick against Shilton in 1990 in Italy, when it went with the top spin and looped over him. This time Sorensen didn't touch it. It went off the bar, and it's going to be a corner to Holland on the left-hand side. But that's the first real time we've seen Schneider get himself in a position to do that today.
Created that chance himself, twisted and turned, came back inside on his left foot.
Holland corner, delivered by Schneider from the left, headed away by Gronkjaer. And then in the possession on the left-hand side is Eriksson. Runs into one of the Dutch youngsters, Van der Veel.
His teammate.
Via a Danish deflection. It's out for a throw into Holland inside the Danish half on the right. Taken by Van der Veel, who threw it with real purpose onto the chest of Kaut. He couldn't control it. And here come Denmark over the halfway line. Again, it's Eriksson trying to make something happen. Again, he's tackled, this time by Van Bommel. And plenty of orange shirts around the ball as Van Bronckhorst has it on this left-hand side. We've got about 7 minutes to go. Holland leading Denmark 1-0 here in Group E of the World Cup here in South Africa 2010. Afellay for Holland. Runs and thinks about the shot. Hits it wide. You're not seeing players strike the ball with confidence and look like they expect to hit the target.
No. It's the same here again, wasn't it? The players have totally lost confidence in the ball from distance.
You know, it's funny, I was watching the England match the other night. We sat in the restaurant watching the game, and Frank Lampard got himself in these kind of opportunities and invariably knocked it wide to Aaron Lennon, where for Chelsea, with the ball they use in the Premier League, he'd be striking for goal.
Yeah.
Certainly is in the minds of the players, you think, this football that they've spent all this money on and all this time trying to develop, and it can't go anywhere near the goal. 1-0 Holland lead, an own goal here, seconds after the restart in Soccer City. They're pretty comfortable now. I think both sides have got the look of a team that have accepted that this is going to finish 1-0.
Yeah, well, the Denmark we saw in the first half, when it's 0-0, they don't have to do anything. It's not a bad international side. But what Denmark have had to do in the second half, that's when they really struggle. And they just haven't been able to impose themselves on the game at all. Don't have enough quality going forward.
Cleared forward by Stecklenburg. That's controlled by Kaut on the far side. Simon Kerr gets across, makes the challenge. He's probably been the better of the two central defenders, hasn't he, today, Simon Kerr?
Yeah.
Food for thought for 1 or 2 who are looking at him. Managers in Italy, in Spain, and the Premier League, of course. All taking a look at the 21-year-old who currently plays for Palermo. Sure to get a big move somewhere after this tournament. Here's Van Bommel for Holland, and now Schneider Central position, forward towards Elia. Elia's in for Holland. Elia's shot round the goalkeeper, hits the post and tapped in by Dirk Kuyt. Holland get a second goal, and Liverpool's Dirk Kuyt strikes his first goal of the World Cup in South Africa. Holland 2, Denmark 0, and that seals it for the Dutch.
Yeah, it most definitely does. It's that run again, isn't it? In behind. Jacobsen had lost the runner. Great pass by Wesley Sneijder. Elias away. Goalkeeper come out. He does well, to be fair. Thomas gets a touch on it, goes onto the post. The bounce of the post completely fools the defender. Rolls back into Dirk Kuyt. Open goal, 2 yards out. Game over.
Well, that does seal it, and that just takes the pressure off for the last 5 minutes or so from Bert van Marwijk's side. Maybe just adds a little bit more realism to the scoreline when you think about all of Holland's possession, certainly in this second half. But Elia really has been a breath of fresh air, and he certainly must be giving food for thought to the coach, because they've been a different team with him on the pitch.
Yeah, they have. He's a real threat in behind. But it was a good save. Your original save by the goalkeeper, Thomas Sorensen.
They're going to make another change as well. Demi de Zoo is going to be coming on. Always a lot of pressure on a Dutch player that's got number 14 on his back, especially with the great man Johan Cruyff.
What a number
in
that
the
is
stadium
to carry,
here today. Yeah. Forward by Kerr. That's back to the goalkeeper via a slight deflection off the head of Giovanni van Bronckhorst. And the ball is with Stekelenburg, who's in no real hurry to pick it up, waits for young Christian Eriksen to arrive and then picks it up.
Yeah, they'll see this now as a good afternoon's work. The Dutch comfortable winning, getting themselves a couple of goals.
I think the worry for Morten Olsen's got to be in this tournament is if his team go behind in a game, because they've not shown the ability really to come back, have they? Especially if Bentner's not 100% either.
And both the next games, Cameroon and Japan, it's going to be different, because the expectations are going to be for Denmark to come, to create, dominate the games, and it doesn't suit the majority of the players that Denmark have.
Forward towards Eriksen in the penalty area. Johnny Heitinger of Everton is back there, and via a shove from Christian Eriksen, the ball's gone behind, and it's going to be a goal kick away to our right hand side for Holland. So 3 o'clock, Japan, Cameroon in Bloemfontein, the other two teams in this World Cup Group E. And then from 7:30, Italy, who won it on the shootout against the French 4 years ago in Berlin with that Grosso penalty that you heard at the top of the programme today. They start the defence of the title against Paraguay in Cape Town. And here's the change, and Nigel de Jong is the player to go off, and Demi de Zoo is just about the same player. He's coming on with a holding midfield player, de Zoo from Ajax, and he's on for the last couple of minutes or so of this match.
Yeah, just to make sure, isn't it, that de Jong doesn't get himself into any trouble already having been booked.
Here's Kuyt on the left edge of the penalty area, floated in, that's the third goal, surely no, it's cleared off the line. Afellay stabbed it goalwards, and how did Seaman Poulsen stop that going in?
Yeah, how did he do that? Again, it's down the left, isn't it? Cross in between the defender and the goalkeeper, and he looked, and it's going to be one of these when we see it again.
We need to see the replay. Here it is,
very close.
The ball comes in, Afellay beats the keeper, stabs it goalwards, Poulsen never stops, lunges out his left leg, and a foot from the line hooks it away.
Tremendous defender.
9 times out of 10 he smashes that into the roof of his own net, doesn't he?
Well, most defenders wouldn't have got there, would they?
No. I suppose he feels he's got to make up for the own goal if it is
too late.
His own goal.
Too late, isn't it? With that defensive header that cost the first goal.
So Holland leading 2-0 here, sniffing more goals here. One of the favourites for the tournament. 2 minutes to go. De Zoo gets his first touch and plays it out to his captain Van Bronckhorst on the left. Back in field again to De Zoo. Lots of Ajax players on the pitch at the moment. Van Bommel to Afellay. He can turn and play the ball out to Van der Veel on the right hand side. He's about 10 yards inside the Danish half. Plenty of orange around him. Afellay again on the left. Afellay square across the centre line to De Zoo, and then to Van Bommel, and then back to Mathiasen, and now Heitinger. Heitinger moves from shade to sunshine and plays it out to Afellay on the right hand side. Afellay to De Zoo, and that was hit forward more in hope than expectation by Demi de Zoo, picked up by Poulsen, and he's got it in the left back position for Denmark.
Yeah, it's gone now, hasn't it? The game's finished, and both teams, I think, are just playing out time.
Well, the next game for the Dutch is on the 19th in Durban against Japan. They wrap up the group against Cameroon in Cape Town. Cameroon are next in Pretoria for Denmark, and then Japan in Rustenburg after that. Now here come Denmark, left edge of the penalty area with Beckman into the box. Beckman rolls it square and couldn't pick out Eriksson, couldn't pick out Rommedahl, and it's cleared away and out by Van Bronckhorst.
Yeah, the old Danish midfield players couldn't quite get there, could they? They're just feeling the heat a little bit.
Tossed into the box towards Rommedahl. He's missed it, Van Bronckhorst. Rommedahl will get it down and volley it right across the 6-yard box and behind for a goal kick.
Yeah, it was obviously a shot, wasn't it, from Rommedahl, misjudged by Van Bronckhorst. Shot back across. Again, nobody following him.
Nice start this, of course, for Holland. Like the teams like to win their opening match.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pressure now on Denmark.
Absolutely.
In Pretoria against Cameroon.
Yeah,
they can't lose the match, can
and you probably feel that is the game that's going to decide who follows the Dutch into the next round. But they'll improve from this, Holland, there's no doubt about that. And as you rightly said, the first game is always tricky.
3 minutes of stoppage time to play. We're into injury time now. And Holland are in possession inside the Denmark half with De Zoo. That's a bit of a sloppy clearance by Jurgensen. Dirk Kuyt runs towards this left side and back heels it to Elliott. Holland are still looking for goals in this match. De Zoo to Schneider. And then back to De Zoo. De Zoo now to Afellay. He can turn. And then rolls it back towards Van Bommel inside the centre circle. Van Bommel turns a full circle, then gives it to De Zoo, and then De Zoo sweeps it out towards this left-hand side to Schneider, and now Elliott. Kjær across for Denmark on the left edge of the penalty area. Dragged away from Jakobsen by Elliott, then to Kuyt, and then to Afellay, and then Afellay gets it back again from Schneider. Holland keeping the possession. Afellay and Schneider combine once more, and then De Zoo, little ball to Afellay, and this is probably the most controlled football we've seen from the Dutch in this match so far.
It's easy when you win in 2-0 in 91 minutes played. But that's how they can play. That's what they're capable of. And I'm sure during this tournament they'll give us some great thrills because they have some wonderful players.
Seen two of the favoured teams now in the flesh. Argentina against Nigeria, Holland against Denmark, and you looked at both of those performances and thought there was a lot of improvement for both of those teams to make, which
is only natural, isn't it?
Here's Kuyt for Holland. He's going to try the shot and he hits it with his right foot, and that was always going to be wide of the left-hand post. Jan Mulder.
Yeah, it's Dirk Kuyt. I mean, they've changed things around, haven't they, Holland? And I actually think that they've looked better. You know, Dirk Kuyt would look better as a lone striker than what Van Persie did. Having said that, that's not how they're going to play. You know, they go with the big boys.
I think they've looked better, Jan, with two wingers. Natural wingers with pace. A little bit lethargic, I thought, when they got Van der Vaart on the field. A bit easy for Denmark to contain. Stabbed away from the edge of the penalty area by Heitinga. Afellay battling for the ball, wins it from Poulsen. Poulsen has battled back well though for Denmark, and he can hold off De Zoo, and in the end it's gone out for a throw-in on the left-hand side. But I think the referee just noticed there that they had a niggle at the ankles of Simon Poulsen, and it's going to be a throw to Denmark on the left with about 30 seconds of injury time to play.
Yeah, he's actually given a free kick. Daniel Agger's just going to hoist it forward.
A free kick that didn't take place anywhere near it's going to be taken from. So Agger's free kick is launched into the penalty area towards Kjær, headed away by Heitinga, and then there's a foul committed on Schneider by Christian Poulsen. Schneider's not happy with that. He stayed down Schneider. When Poulsen offered him the handshake, I think Schneider gave him a piece of his mind.
There's no need. I mean, the ball is there to be won, isn't it? Poulsen from behind. He's tried to get his leg around to try and win the ball. No need for Schneider to not shake Christian Poulsen's hand.
Perfectly entitled to try and win the ball from where it was.
Absolutely.
Dutch free kick then, midway inside their own half, in a central position. It's hit forward by Heitinga. Referee blows the full-time whistle. Holland start off their Group E campaign with a victory. An own goal, a header by Simon Poulsen that went in off the back of Daniel Agger, and a tap-in from Dirk Kuyt late on after Elliott's shot had come back off the post. The Dutch full value for the win, and they get the start they want here in Soccer City, Jan Mulder.
Yeah, very much as we thought before the game, that the Dutch would probably be too strong, not just for Denmark, but for all the teams in this group. They haven't played particularly great this afternoon. I think it was a difficult pitch. I think the service was slow. They never really got into their stride. They got lucky, really, with both goals, but you probably can't deny that they deserved to win the game. And when Denmark went behind, they had to gamble and go forward. The quality wasn't there.
Japan next on the agenda, then for Holland, who have started off with a win. It's Cameroon in Pretoria for Denmark, and a pressure match for them. Full time here, Holland 2, Denmark 0.